Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. It's always special whenever you review a JND hyperreal statue. And, this is no exception. This is, of course, of Arthur Fleck from the first Joker movie. And this is, special in so many ways because this is JND's very first piece as well. So a little history lesson, but this was a couple years ago. The statue collecting market is very crowded, as you know. Prime One Studios, Sideshow, XM, Queen Studios, Infinity Studios, all of these, big companies slowly making their mark, in terms of the collectibles world. And everybody's trying to do something a little bit new. So where is the niche that Korean company so small? What are they hoping to do to create something that the others don't have? And at the time, Silicone, hyper-realistic figures, hand-punched hair, glass eyes, they were just kind of slowly starting to make its way into the consciousness of the collectors. Cinemaquette walked so that these companies could run. And while they, crafted pretty realistic looking people, the likenesses were just not up to par, not up to snuff. So JND entered the market with the idea that they were going to make these hyper-realistic third-scale statues, sort of, essentially extend the legacy of Cinemaquette. And they decided to make Arthur Fleck from the Joker as their very first piece. It's an interesting decision. I think that they must have done it because the licensing costs were maybe not as high. This is definitely DC. As you all know, the Joker went on to be very successful, grossing over $1 billion in the global box office. I think at the time that it was the highest grossing rated R movie ever made. So obviously, it resonated greatly with the audience. Joaquin Phoenix won an Oscar, a Best Actor Oscar, for his work as Arthur Fleck. So, it definitely had its fans. But I think the licensing cost was not quite as expensive. And I think this is just very striking because it's not like a very flashy superhero, right? It's not like, say, Heath Ledger's Joker. It's not a Superman or Wonder Woman. In fact, if you didn't know anything about the movie, like my parents are, older Chinese, they're in their 80s. They have never seen the movie. And so all they saw in front of them is just like this very, realistic man, sad-looking man in extraordinarily, realistic clothes. They appreciated it based purely on the artistic quality of the piece, with no idea of the IP or the licensing or the inspiration. And so it's a very understated piece, but a lot of people love it. It's one of their favorite JND pieces because, again, it sort of defied the norm. This is not a Batman suit. It is actually extraordinary in its very blandness, so to speak. Just kind of give me an idea of how nice the likeness is. So let's just start with the base. This is very, very simple. You can see the name of the movie Joker. JND, I think, is obligated to put the name of the movie on their base, but many collectors don't like it. And so what they do is they make it sort of black, matte, so that it camouflages very nicely into the base, so it's not obvious. All of this is resin, but they've basically sculpted it so well that you could never tell that this is not wood. It's actually a pretty stunning level of detail. You can see all the scratches in the wood that he's standing on. Just quite remarkable. One of the things to be aware of is that this base is the heaviest base I think that JND's ever made. Again, this was their first piece, so they had a lot of, had a learning curve, a lot of things they had to kind of learn from. And so for whatever reason, they decided to make this base ridiculous, super heavy. I mean, I think it's over 10 pounds, in my opinion, maybe heavier than that. And just honestly, very unnecessary to make it that heavy, but they just went there. So it's like, okay. Wonder Woman 1984, they made the base way lighter, so they did learn from that. But yeah, this thing is a bear to actually move. So when you look at the shoes, these are actually real laces. I love looking at, kind of shoes that aren't real leather and just kind of admiring the different companies' sort of commitment, right, to making it as beautiful as possible. So here from this angle, you can kind of tell how amazing that is. So you can see the stitching, the gloss. Just trying to show you as much as I can. Kind of the wrinkles, the folds of the leather. And then of course they invested in, having like the real, lift up the pants a little bit so you can see it. But sort of showing you the real shoelaces right here. Really remarkable, really nice. One of the things that sets JND apart is their attention to detail, not only for the silicone portraits, but also just, for their tailoring. It's really, really challenging, really, really difficult to tailor clothes that look good, that fit well. But, they're the best in the world at it. So look at the pants. Again, all of this stuff is, is real pants. Look at the zipper right over here. Just remarkable. Really nice leather jacket. This is the actual paper bag, wrinkled and distressed. This is the smaller bag where the bullets are supposed to be in the smaller bag, and then the smaller bag is in the bigger bag. But I think that, from another YouTube reviewer, I kind of took inspiration from his setup. I really like the way this is displayed with the, kind of the bag tipping over and the bullets on the base. These are real metal bullets, by the way. It comes with its own holder, which is in the box. I just think that, the tipped over bag with the bullets kind of gives the base a little bit more character. Otherwise it's a little bit just, straightforward, a little bit boring. So it kind of gives a little bit more accent. These are silicone hands. You can tell that it just gives you a realism that no other material can give. You can kind of see the veins bulging, the texture of the skin, the thumbnail. Even back then, with their very first release, you could see their commitment and attention to that. All of the fingers are separate as well, which is wonderful. And they can put the bag in position. This is the same thing on the other side. Again, just kind of pay attention to the wrinkles, the thumb, the thumbnail, all the individual fingers. So, per what we see, to try to be as movie accurate as possible, Arthur Fleck is left-handed, even though Joaquin Phoenix is right-handed, and so the pistol does properly belong in the left hand. The gun is extremely high quality. It's actually metal, not resin or plastic. So there's definitely a weight to it. It is difficult to get the gun to stay, and from certain angles it looks a little bit unnatural. But I did shove the finger through the trigger area so that it wouldn't fall. Here's the back. Here's his jacket. Here's a little hoodie right here. If you look at him from the side, he's almost like a little bit hunched over. Again, just sort of enjoying the texture of the clothes. Here's his vest. You can see the little buttons one by one. Just really, really, pretty. Here's his card that he carries with him. You can see that they actually took the time to print it out. Again, unfortunately, hopefully you can see this, but my iPhone 15 has a hard time. If I go too close, like so, it just blurs. So you have to kind of back up a little bit to use the 4K camera. But it's meticulously recreated from the original. So I decided to put it here. Has his shirt. And so finally, of course, what makes this piece stand apart? The money shot. A beautiful portrait of Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck. You can see that this is the real hair. Hyper realistic silicone skin. The eyebrows. The glass eyes. Just looking at it from different angles. You can see that how thin he looks. Joaquin Phoenix lost a lot of weight for this role. A little bit unkempt. Yeah, this figure wasn't super popular when it first came out. They made a very limited number of these. I think less than 300. And, it was pretty pricey. I think I like to say it was in the neighborhood of $2,000. And so to drop $2,000, for basically like a sad man, that was a big ask. And a lot of people didn't really know JND's track record. But if you're getting on the ground level, this is it. Right here, this is it. Their very first piece. They're of course so much better now, so much more refined. But even back then, this is still very, very solid. Look at the green eyes. Just, really eerie. Now, I am an ENT guy. I'll take a look at the ear. So, I think the ear, of course, could have been a little bit better. They've since made a lot more improvement on sculpting the ear. I think this earlobe is, not quite as convincing. It's a little bit deformed almost. I mean, not bad, but definitely could be a little bit better. And they've done better since. You can see some of the stubble on his face. I mean, one reviewer said that you can even take a look at the nose hair, but I'll be honest, on mine, I looked pretty closely. I mean, if there's nose hair, they went a little bit deeper. I don't really easily appreciate that. But there you have it. In person, under the right lighting, he just looks like a little human being. So, from top to bottom, it just kind of screams quality. Super heavy bass, actual paper bags, metal bullets, a metal revolver, silicone hands, amazing silicone portrait, beautifully tailored jacket, everything multimedia. The shoes are amazing. A very simple pose, but he's a little bit more difficult to come by now. They never made a whole lot of him to begin with. Arthur Fleck, portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix. This is kind of what started the whole thing for JND. And even though they made much more elaborate poses, improved their production, improved everything really. I think it's pretty amazing that even after all this time, this first piece still rocks. It still kind of holds its own, and it's just an amazing, powerful announcement of this new company. When you go too close, it's kind of hard, to show how amazing this looks. But I think this is like a really nice distance. It kind of reduces the lens distortion from the iPhone as much as possible, and just kind of gives you an idea of how unbelievably real he looks, So I like to kind of give you this mid-range shot as I slowly turn him over. Now again, you're going to have different YouTube videos of this, reviewing this, and no matter how good the photos, and some of the attempts on the Facebook JND, fan or official fan Facebook page, I mean, these guys are really good 4K video and photos. I think this is a pretty decent attempt, right, at showing all of that to you. But no matter what, I look at what he looks like through the lens on my iPhone 15, and then I look, to the side of my camera, and you see him in person. And there's just so hard to explain, but there's just nothing that beats how they look to the naked eye. It just shows you that there's still a long way to go from any camera lens in the human eye, right? And they just look so much better in person. And when the likeness is argued about, and all these different angles, all these different shots of these pieces from different angles, but then you have it in person, and that's sort of the greatest compliment, is that just like a real human being, these portraits, these works of art by JND, they just pop different in front of you. And all of a sudden, the likeness that sometimes is so hard to photograph or take a video of, that likeness in real time in front of you as you walk around it, as you put your human eye close to the statue and you move away, you look at the kitchen lights at night, you have the black background, and you're able to walk around and look at it from different angles, and all of a sudden that likeness just locks into place, And I think, is it Sunju? She's like the one of the head sculptors of the line. She's been there from the beginning. She sculpted this. She'll mention how it's just so difficult to capture, a likeness, because there's so many different angles, so many different lighting. You're trying to capture like a specific expression, right? And so it'll always look maybe a little bit off from certain aspects, and then it'll look absolutely killer amazing from others. So she knows the game. She knows why people complain. She's just trying to do her best. Sometimes you'll hit it straight on. Sometimes you're not going to be able to. But you really appreciate what she's talking about when you have this, statue in front of you. And like I said, the texture, being able to touch it, being able to see it in real time, it's just something that's, honestly indescribable and hard to capture, even though I do my best. Even though other collectors of JND, other fans of JND, both in Korea and around the world, we try our best to capture it for you, but it's hard to, So like owning a piece like this and enjoying it is just really an amazing experience. So I hope you, enjoyed this video review in 4K of Arthur Fleck as portrayed by Joaquin Phoenix in The Joker. An absolutely amazing debut from JND Studios. My next review will be of Henry Cavill as the Man of Steel. That's a long time coming. I'm going to work on that, and then we're going to put together Chris Reeves and Clark Kent from JND. All right, very good. Until next time, I'll leave you with a lingering last look on Arthur Fleck's face. Do take care.